New York City, 1875. Madame Helena Blavatsky founds a new group called the Theosophical Society, dedicated to researching and revealing the lost civilizations and forgotten wisdom of the ancient world.
Madame Blavatsky was a very well-educated Russian aristocrat who had the goal of finding the unified field theory of religion. And she started gathering up all of these different traditions and finding where they overlapped, finding where they repeated each other, and coming up with a wisdom teaching, if you will. In the mid to late 1800s, this was a very popular movement.
Theosophy means the wisdom of the gods. And the idea of the society is that they would study ancient wisdom. And one of the key aims of the Theosophical Society was the creation of a universal brotherhood, regardless of race, creed, color.
Before arriving in New York, Blavatsky traveled widely in Egypt and India, absorbing ancient esoteric knowledge.
Madame Blavatsky becomes interested in the esoteric world as a teenager, and then in her early adulthood goes off on these sort of grand adventures. Eventually, these adventures take her to India and take her to Tibet. And throughout this process, she begins to communicate with intelligences that are referred to as Mahatmas or Ascended Masters.
She claimed that these Ascended Masters were actually the masters of civilizations that appeared on planet Earth before the human race, and that they would give her knowledge and she would use that knowledge to pass it on to individuals to guide them.
They had developed to a higher state of consciousness, so they could communicate telepathically and cause things to materialize and things of that sort.
In 1877, Madame Blavatsky published her ideas in the book Isis Unveiled. But rather than take credit, she claimed her knowledge came from an unseen source.
One of the things that Helena Blavatsky taught was the idea of automatic writing. That meant that in a meditative state, your hand was guided by the Ascendant Masters, and you could write, not knowing what you wrote, but you could write, and what you wrote was the instruction from the ancient masters.
It is said that she wrote her entire first book, Isis Unveiled, with her eyes closed as automatic writing. She was the channel that brought forth this information.
According to Madame Blavatsky, the Ascended Masters taught her about ancient civilizations and profound wisdom that had been lost to time.
She wrote this notion that there were previous civilizations. Atlantis, Lemuria, there's something called the imperishable land. She pushes back appearance of civilization much, much further back in time.
According to Madame Blavatsky, Atlantis and Lemuria were destroyed in the flood of the Bible. And in many ways, her scenario of Earth and the past is very much a precursor to ancient astronaut theory, where she's also got gods from outer space.
Many important figures joined the Theosophical Society, like Thomas Edison, Nobel Prize-winning poet W.B. Yeats, and Civil War hero Abner Doubleday, who invented baseball. But Madame Blavatsky had a particularly profound influence on a young Indian law student named Mohandas Gandhi.
Gandhi finds himself in Madame Blavatsky's salon in 1889 when he is a law student in London. And he is completely, not only captivated by her, but changed by his encounter with her.
He was introduced to the Bhagavad Gita, one of the great works of his own nation, his own religion, by Madame Blavatsky. And it was actually through his introduction to the Bhagavad Gita that Gandhi developed Ahimsa, which is his philosophy of nonviolence.
Inspired in part by Blavatsky's teachings, the young lawyer would go on to become a civil rights activist. And in 1947, Mohandas Gandhi would lead India to independence from British rule.